Hey everybody out there in YouTube land, I'm John and I'm back with another video on my channel, Musings of a Marine. Hope everybody's doing well out there. It's 17 degrees outside here in Redford, Michigan, and that's minus 8 Celsius for anybody who doesn't live in the United States who's watching. I want to thank everybody for tuning into my last video. Gained some new subscribers too, and I appreciate that. And I'm just really enjoying doing this. Today is my first official day of semi-retirement. It's a Monday, and I don't have to go to work today. I am off Mondays and Wednesdays during the week, and thank goodness for that, because working out in this cold wouldn't exactly be a fun thing for me. But anyways, enough of that. I wanted to tell you a little bit of a story and talk about something today. And some of you might find this video slightly controversial, or maybe even a little insulting, maybe even to the Filipino people, and that's not my intent whatsoever. My videos are typically my experiences when I'm in the Philippines, and in Iloilo particularly, and these are just some stories that happened, and I just want to share them, and not only to help out my fellow expats who go over there, and kind of this will give them a little bit better understanding about certain situations they might face, but also, to just maybe open some people's eyes that, it's okay to open your mouth and tell people what you want, especially if you're the customer, So I'm going to share some stories with you right now about that. I call this video the Passivity of the Filipino, and you can take this for what it's worth, but being a passive person, and being non-controversial, which is essentially what that means, isn't necessarily a bad thing. Filipinos often, go out of their way to not only get along with people, but to be accepting of their circumstances. The resiliency is off the charts, unbelievably good, and sometimes that can work against them as well. Me, however, as a United States Marine veteran, I went from being voted most shy in my senior class in high school to getting out of Marine Corps basic training, and it just unleashed an uncaged lion. I went from keeping my mouth shut around people I didn't know to being very, very vocal if I felt something was going on that I didn't feel was right. And so that's kind of what these three examples I'm going to give you are about. And maybe people can get a better understanding, whether you're a Westerner or a Filipino, that number one, us Westerners don't always intend to be jerks. We don't necessarily want to come off that way, but we're not afraid to speak up if we feel that we've been wronged in a situation. And secondly, I want, people from the West who go over to the Philippines to understand that, sometimes you do have to speak up, and yes, you want to adapt to the culture there, and you want to be patient and accepting, but at the same time, you don't want to, deal with some injustices, especially as a paying customer, when you feel you should have gotten something that you wanted or that you paid for. So here we go with these three examples. I'm going to start with the trip over there in 2010 when my father-in-law passed. My wife, my brother-in-law, Romeo, and we all traveled together for the wake because Romeo just lives less than an hour away, and he came over there with us. So anyways, when we were getting ready to come back to Detroit, what we did was we flew out of Iloilo in the evening, and we were going to spend the night at a hotel in Manila, fairly close to the airport, so we could, not have to worry about getting a very, very early flight the next morning. And it was a great deal. They woke you up. They had a free shuttle service to the airport from the hotel. So it was a good deal. And I really thought, hey, this is going to work out great. So we check into the hotel once we arrive in Manila, and we get to our hotel room, and there's a slight problem. There's three of us. They're going to sleep in this room, and there's only 2 pillows in the room. So I call down to the front desk, and I say to them, is it possible we could get another pillow up to our room? Give them the room number, because there's 3 of us here. And the lady at the reception desk told me, well, I'm sorry, sir, but we only allow 2 pillows per room. And I can kind of understand why that rule exists, probably out of the fear that people were stealing the pillows who were staying at this hotel. And believe you me, that would be quite a common thing in the Philippines. But I wasn't having it. And I, under no uncertain terms, forcefully explained to her that when I reserved the room, I had specifically told them that there would be 3 of us staying there, and how in the heck is one of us supposed to sleep without a pillow to lay our head on? And so I told them I want another pillow up here. And that was the end of the conversation. 5 minutes later, we get a knock on the door, and there's somebody who works for the hotel with another pillow, and therefore we all had a pillow to put our heads on that night. So now, if the receptionist thinks that I came off as a jerk by complaining, and I'm not always the most pleasant person when I do, that's understandable, because it's different in their culture. The Philippine culture is oftentimes to accept things the way they are. And American culture is completely the 180. If we feel we've been wrong, we're going to say something about it. At least most of us will. And certainly somebody who's been trained to be a vocal leader like I have. So there you have it. So I got what I wanted, and everybody was able to sleep. And this hotel, I don't remember the name of it, but hey, other than that, I had no complaints whatsoever. They woke us up like they said they would. They took us to the airport like they said they would, and we had no problems. So just wanted to share that experience, though, because I understood their policy, but at the same time, it was unacceptable to me, and I let them know, and they did something about it. Maybe it's because they realize that, hey, odds are this guy, he's got money, he probably doesn't need to steal a pillow. I don't know. But whatever the reason, we got our pillow, and everybody had one that night. So that's incident number 1. Now let's move on to incident number 2. Now this one's going to be kind of personal, and you're going to probably wonder why I would even share this. But I'm certain that I am not the only person who suffers with this issue that I'm about to talk about, and why I needed medicine for it. When we went over there in 2014, unfortunately, leading up to the trip, and I do have this problem every now and then, I had a little problem with hemorrhoids. So and flying all that distance on a plane from Detroit to the Philippines most definitely did not help the situation. And stupid me didn't pack any medicine to help with the problem. So my nephew Baba and I needed to get some certain items for hygiene items and stuff in the drugstore. And so we went to this drugstore in SM City Mall there in Iloilo and got some things. And I asked the lady, hey, where do you keep the hemorrhoid medication? So here's a lesson for you expats. She told me that you need a prescription for that medication. Now here in the West, we're not accustomed to that. You can go any drugstore, even grocery stores, they're going to have Preparation H or something available right there on the counter for you to grab if you're having a problem with this. But not necessarily in the Philippines. This is what I was told: you had to have a prescription. Well, needless to say, I was rather unhappy to hear that. And I firmly explained to the clerk that, well, that sounds real crazy. In the United States, we can just grab it right off the counter and buy it. Why in the heck do I need a prescription for something like that? You know, it's not like it's some sort of medication or something that, you know, could have side effects. So she kind of looks around, and there's this cardboard box on a shelf behind her, and she digs into the cardboard box and pulls out a tube of hemorrhoid medication and sells it to me. I hope she didn't get in trouble for that. but that's what happened. And, you know, sure enough, problem solved for me. So it took care of that issue. So I learned after that, you know, just a lesson for everybody who suffers from that, like I do occasionally. You might want to make sure you bring that kind of medication with you anytime you take a trip over there, or any other country for that matter, because who knows, the Philippines might not be the only country that has that rule. So anyways, problem solved there. And I'd like to share one other quick story with you in regards to that. It was 2018 this time, and we were there this time, sadly, for my mother-in-law's wake. And Baba was working these crazy hours at this grocery store, but he had 2 days off because his contract was up, and he had 2 days where he could spend a little time with my wife and I before he renewed his contract and went back to work there. So anyways, we thought, hey, it was a great idea to maybe go visit the condo area that they're building. Our condo in Mandurriao in Iloilo was not quite built yet. However, they did have Tower 1 done at the time. And I thought it would be pretty cool if we could go over there to Tower 1 and maybe get a little tour so we could get an idea of how big our condo would be. Look at one that was laid out the same way as ours was going to be, and check it out. Get an idea of how big it was and what facilities came with it. So I had Baba call the Mega World office, and he was told, well, I'm sorry, sir, but we don't, give tours like that. And that's what Baba told me after he hung up the phone. Well, I have been labeled as a complainer by my wife's family at times, particularly in 2014, but that's another story. This was an unacceptable answer for me. My wife and I paid good money for this condo, and why on earth, in my opinion, should I not be allowed to get a quick tour as to what it would look like? So I had Baba redial that number that he called, and I got on the phone this time. And I told them very firmly that my wife and I paid some very good money for the condo that we have purchased, and I would like to see what the heck I bought. So we'd like to know what we spent all this money on, So, so the person on the other end of the phone relents and says, okay, come on down to our office, which at that time was in the Richmond Hotel there in Mega World, and we'll see what we can do for you. So we go on down there, and they tell us to go to Tower 1 and meet somebody there. And this cute young lady meets us there at the front desk in Tower 1 and does show us a condo unit that would be similar to what we purchased. So again, problem solved, got what I wanted. And we got to check it out. Ironically, when our condo was built and ready to be moved into, it was this same cute young lady that showed the condo off, I believe, to my niece Annette, who was still over there at the time, so she could see what it looked like and everything else. So she gave us a nice tour. We checked out the area, and then we went back to the Richmond Hotel and swam in the swimming pool on the roof of the hotel. So that's how that happened. So it turned out to be a very good day, but it started out as if maybe it wasn't going to be. So why do I tell you these stories? Again, number one, for all the expats that go over there, understand that you don't have to be a jerk when you're over there, but you don't always have to accept everything that you're told either. You know the saying, the squeaky wheel gets the grease, right? I was a squeaky wheel in those 3 situations, and I got the grease. Okay. Problem solved, made the trip better, and it turned out well. And, for Filipinos, I would tell them the same thing. And it's funny, when I did my video talking about the resiliency of Filipinos, there was a Filipino that commented on my video saying that yes, Filipinos do need to be more vocal about stuff. And you see the protests that went on, all this flooding that the Philippines has had because of all these typhoons and everything, and how much money the government received to build these trenches and everything to make the flooding less of a problem. And instead of doing that, they just kept the money for themselves. And there was a lot of protesting going on over that. I know there was some Filipina actresses that I knew of. I think Julia Barreto and Yuka Takahashi were a couple of them that were actually out there marching and protesting about this. And good for them, Sometimes you just got to say enough is enough. And sometimes you just got to say, hey, this isn't right. Let's fix this situation, okay? I'm not afraid to speak up when I feel I've been wronged. And these were 3 situations where I did. So do that when you're over there. Be firm about it, but don't be a jerk. Don't be loud. Don't be obnoxious. But be firm about how you feel and why you feel you've been wronged. And you'll be surprised. You're not talking to some stupid people here. You're talking to some educated people who may be a little bit intimidated by you because maybe you're taller and everything else and a little bit more louder. But they will listen to reason, and sometimes you're going to get your way. Sometimes you're not. Sometimes you got to do a little bit of encouraging to get your way. I'm not going to talk any further on that, but because I've never done it. But anyways, I just wanted to say that, and I hope maybe this helps some people when they're over there, and can make some Filipinos who watch this video better understand why us Westerners act that way sometimes. So anyways, that's it. Thanks for tuning in. I'm John. God bless y'all. Semper Fi.